The idea that we, as modern humans, might not be entirely what we think we are is one of the most tantalizing and controversial topics in the world of historical mysteries. There is a theory that suggests the blood flowing through our veins could contain genetic traces from another species, perhaps even from beings that did not originate on Earth. This theory becomes even more intriguing when tied to the legend of an ancient, mother civilization, known as Mu. The story of Mu has been described as the wildest and most concrete attempt to explain the true source of humanity, a civilization that, according to believers, existed long before Egypt, Mesopotamia, or Atlantis. It is said to have been the birthplace of humankind, a sprawling, advanced continent that flourished tens of thousands of years ago before being swallowed by the sea in a single catastrophic night. Our journey into this mystery begins in the 19th century, when whispers of this strange idea began circulating among researchers and explorers, challenging everything mainstream historians believed about the development of human civilization. The story of Mu first gained attention through the work of Augustus Plongeon, a 19th-century archaeologist who spent years studying the ruins of the Maya civilization in the Yucatan Peninsula. Unlike his peers, Plongeon believed that the Mayan civilization was older than Egypt and that it had deep connections to a lost world. His claims were radical for the time, but they grew even bolder when he announced that, according to his interpretations of Mayan texts, there had once been a vast continent called Mu that predated all known civilizations. He said the text spoke of a great civilization destroyed in a massive cataclysm, its survivors spreading out and influencing the birth of later cultures, including ancient Egypt. Plongeon could not pinpoint where Mu had been located or provide physical proof of its existence, and because of this, his theories were largely dismissed and swept aside by the academic world. However, the whispers of Mu refused to die, and they would eventually be revived by a far more colorful and determined figure. In the early 20th century, a British writer and adventurer named James Churchward brought the legend of Mu back into public attention with unprecedented detail. In 1926, he published the first in a series of books, The Lost Continent of Mu, followed by The Children of Mu and The Sacred Symbols of Mu. These works presented Mu as a real, historical place with a rich and complex society. Churchward claimed that, 50 years earlier, while serving as a soldier in India, he had befriended a high-ranking temple priest who entrusted him with something extraordinary, a set of ancient clay tablets written in a language known as Naga-Maya. According to Churchward, only a handful of people in the world could read this language, and he convinced the priest to teach it to him in exchange for restoring and preserving the fragile artifacts. Over time, Churchward learned to interpret the tablets, which he said described the creation of the earth, the rise of Mu, and the lives of its people, the Naacal. Churchward described Mu as a vast continent that stretched across the Pacific Ocean, from the Marianas to Easter Island, and from Hawaii to Mangaia. He said it was larger than South America and home to over 64 million people divided into 10 tribes, all ruled under a single government and united by a single religion. The people of Mu, according to Churchward, were a black-skinned race, superior in many respects to our own, with knowledge and technology far beyond that of any ancient civilization we know. Mu had 7 major cities, fertile land, and a society that flourished for tens of thousands of years. Before disaster struck, Churchward claimed that around 12,000 years ago, a series of violent earthquakes and volcanic eruptions tore the land apart, and in one single night, the continent sank beneath the waves, lost forever under 50 million square miles of ocean. The claims were extraordinary, but Churchward insisted he had further proof. In 1921, mineralogist and archaeologist William Niven discovered over 100 stone tablets in San Miguel Amantla, Mexico. These tablets were inscribed with symbols in a language that baffled researchers, except for Churchward, who claimed the writing was similar to the Naga-Maya script he had learned in India. He interpreted them as further evidence that the descendants of Mu had migrated to other parts of the world, carrying their knowledge and traditions with them. For Churchward, this connected the civilizations of the Americas, Egypt, and other regions back to one single origin. Supporters of the Mu theory often point to mysterious structures and monuments scattered across the Pacific as physical evidence of its existence. One of the most famous examples is the Moai statues of Easter Island, massive stone figures carved by the Rapa Nui people between 1250 and 1500 AD. The statues, some weighing over 80 tons, have oversized heads, no legs, and are made of volcanic tuff quarry from a distant crater. How they were transported to their current positions remains a mystery. The Rapa Nui oral tradition claims that the statues walked to their locations, a claim researchers have tried to explain through rope-assisted rocking or log-rolling techniques. But to believers like Churchward, the Moai might represent a surviving memory of the people of Mu, either as their descendants or as a civilization influenced by them. Another intriguing connection comes from the global phenomenon of pyramids. From the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt to the pyramids of Teotihuacan in Mexico and even the lesser-known pyramids of Shaanxi in China, these structures share striking similarities in design, alignment, and construction techniques. How could civilizations separated by vast oceans and thousands of years develop such similar architectural achievements? Some argue that this is evidence of a shared origin, perhaps the refugees of Mu who spread their knowledge across the globe. Others suggest these structures might have been more than just monuments or tombs. They could have been energy hubs, built using advanced technology that has since been lost. As the story of Mu unfolds, the question of who its people were becomes more complex. Some theories propose that they were not entirely human. This ties into the ancient astronaut hypothesis, which suggests that extraterrestrials visited Earth in the distant past, influencing or even creating early human civilizations. References to sky gods and divine beings appear in many ancient texts, from the Sumerian accounts of the Anunnaki to the Mayan Popol Vuh and the Hindu Vedas with their flying machines, the Vimanas. Could Mu have been the first point of contact between humans and extraterrestrial visitors? If so, the advanced knowledge and technology attributed to the Naacal might have been the result of this interaction, making them a hybrid race with both human and non-human lineage. This idea, however, leads to darker speculation. If such a hybrid civilization existed, could its destruction have been intentional? Some believe that the catastrophic end of Mu might have been an attempt to erase evidence of this union between humans and extraterrestrials, an event so controversial and dangerous that it had to be wiped from history entirely. Whether by natural disaster or deliberate annihilation, the result was the same: the loss of a civilization that, if it truly existed, could rewrite the story of human origins. Despite the captivating nature of Churchward's claims, mainstream science remains unconvinced. Geologists point out that there is no physical evidence of a sunken continent in the Pacific Ocean. The ocean floor has been extensively mapped, and plate tectonics theory makes it impossible for a landmass the size of Mu to have simply vanished without a trace. Furthermore, the Naacal tablets, which form the foundation of Churchward's story, have never been seen by anyone else. Without them, his entire narrative rests on an unverified personal account. Linguists also reject the idea that the similarities between ancient languages and architectural styles around the world must indicate a single origin. They argue these could have developed independently. Still, the persistence of flood myths and stories of lost homelands in cultures around the globe leaves room for speculation. Could there be a grain of truth in the legend of Mu? Some researchers suggest that Mu might not have been a literal continent but rather a misinterpretation of real historical events. One possibility is that it refers to the Sundaland region of Southeast Asia, which was a large landmass during the last ice age but was gradually submerged as sea levels rose around 12,000 years ago, coincidentally matching the timeline Churchward described. If survivors of this flooding migrated to other parts of the world, their stories could have evolved into the legend of a lost paradise. In the end, the story of Mu straddles the line between myth and pseudo-history, blending archaeology, folklore, and speculative science into a narrative that continues to fascinate. Whether it was a real place wiped from the map, a symbolic memory of ancient migrations, or simply a product of creative imagination, Mu serves as a reminder of how much about our past remains unknown. It challenges us to consider the possibility that our origins may be more complex, and perhaps more otherworldly, than conventional history allows. And until definitive proof emerges one way or the other, the lost continent of Mu will remain one of humanity's most enduring and provocative mysteries, a story that invites us to question not only where we came from but also what we truly are.